Good evening and welcome to all. We are here for our another guest lecture series by Emeritus India Career Services team. I am Sugandha and I will be hosting this session today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box and we'll bring them up at the end of the session. Now, our guest for today is Mr. Navin Patel. Navin Patel is at present the Global TA Head at Affine. He is an expert in talent acquisition domain with almost 2 decades of experience and an innovative strategist who has risen to the top of a diverse global matrix organization that cherishes ethnicities with an excellent blend of expertise and exposure earned from TA ops, talent sourcing, recruitment delivery, and formulating staffing plans with the leadership. He strongly believes in displays an enterprise mindset, ensuring that the team supports the needs of the broader business and works openly and collaboratively in a boundaryless manner. He's also built, coached, and led high-performing large teams and plays a key role in defining and implementing new initiatives within the talent organization. He's also part of many talent community forums and actively engages and contributes as a speaker with his rich experience and thought leadership. So please join me in welcoming our guest speaker for today. The topic is AI influence in hiring. Mr. Navin, welcome, and the stage is all yours.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sugandha, for the introduction. So hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you, all of you, especially on a Friday evening when the people are looking ahead at relaxing on a weekend. So I'm sure this is going to be worthwhile. We'll make it interactive. We'll keep it interesting, right? I will give enough time for you guys to ask a question, but that's something which I've noticed that most of the sessions fall short on, right? So, but we will ensure that I take up a lot of questions that you guys might have. So I'll get started with the topic which is quite interesting these days, the influence of AI in hiring. I think AI is touching everyone's life, and especially if you're having a mobile, I think it's touching even more. Let's understand why AI is influencing hiring, right? With respect to AI, right? What is AI, right? Sometimes people have different meanings to it. So in layman term is something that what a machine is doing, which is replicating what a human can do, right? Apply some amount of intelligence which can help in taking better decisions, improve accuracy, improve speed. Right? This is something that AI in layman terms can do. And the need why we have to use AI in hiring is because of the complexity of the nature of job, the complexity of skill, the number of applications that you receive for every job. I think that is the reason why we need to have AI being used in hiring. Plus, we're also doing a lot of hiring virtually. It's become more and more difficult to ensure that we are giving good candidate experience. At the same time, there are also a lot of candidates, a lot of impersonation takes place or fake candidates come in. So that's where we have AI, which plays a role in terms of ensuring that we have the right candidates joining the organization. So, as you guys must be aware, that a lot of HR companies around the world are using AI. So as per the SHRM, which is Society for Human Resource Management, states that 88% of the businesses worldwide are already using AI in some capacity in HR. I think the adoption is increasing more and more, and there are at least hundreds of tools that are there in the market, which are basically using AI technology and supporting hiring and HR functions across the world. And with respect to AI in hiring, right, there are multiple steps in hiring. So I think AI tools are being used starting from the time a job description is provided. So give an example of some of the platforms that we're using, right? In that platform, we have something called a JD analyzer. So that is something which most of the organizations or recruiters go wrong in, where they have a simple JD which is not suitable enough for a particular job posting. So this particular JD analyzer will give you a particular score of how does the JD rank, right? In terms of let's say scoring 70 or 100 or 90 or 100. It also gives suggestions to a hiring manager who's raising the request, saying that which are the areas that he can probably highlight to improve the score. Right, so that's just as simple as a job description where AI is playing a role in terms of enabling someone with a proper job description. And the other area where I think it has made life easy for a recruiter is in terms of doing data entry of a resume in the platform. So we have something called CV parsing. So I think that has reduced a lot of time for recruiters in entering the relevant fields: first name, last name, mobile number, company information, education information. So now it all happens in a matter of seconds. Earlier it used to take minutes to enter that kind of information on the system. So I think that's been a big boon for the recruiters. And with respect to also with application screening. So earlier we used to probably as a recruiter look at a particular job description. We might have 4 or 5 primary skills. So as a recruiter we used to do a control F and search on the resume, right? So you figure out if someone worked on SQL or Python or any other skill set. So that used to be a very manual process that we were involved in earlier. But later came in automation AI, where it started doing something called a text match, right? So it used to do a keyword match between the resume and the GD, and then it'll tell you which is relevant, not relevant. So that was the initial stages, but now it's gone to a one level ahead. Now the AI will tell you which candidate is more suitable for a particular role. So it is called context matching. So it's able to do a context building. It's able to look at the kind of work the person has done, right? It doesn't just do a keyword match, but it also looks at the kind of profile, the role the person has played, the project the person has worked on, right? To tell you what kind of proficiency the person has got on a particular skill set. And I, as a recruiter, can also look at giving certain weightage to a particular skill. Right? If I want, say, example, someone maybe advanced level in SQL, advanced level in Python, right? I can indicate that there, and basis that the AI machine will tell me which is the best suitable candidate for me. So there was a scenario where I would get say 100 applications. Until and unless I don't screen through the 100 applications, I will not be able to find out which are my top 5 or 10 candidates. But now that has been made easy by AI, right? Where it gives me a scoring of a particular candidate, and I also have additional filters where I can maybe put the ranking basis skill alone, or basis overall profile, or basis education, or any other criteria that I want to have. So that saves a lot of time for recruiters in terms of getting better success out of the application that they're screening. So earlier, probably after screening 100 applications, I would get my top 5 shortlist. But now with AI in place, we have to look at maybe top 10 or 12 candidates, and you have your top 5 candidates which are most relevant for the particular job. So that's how the life has been made easy, and there's a certain scoring. So after using this particular platform for some time, you'll get to know saying that any candidate which is scoring about 70 has got a better hit rate. Then I know that ideal score for a particular candidate is going to be 70, and that's how I'm going to save my time in terms of screening through the applications. And the other thing, other area where we can also utilize AI is conversational chatbot or screening. So there are times when we have a lot of databases, right? So there are companies who have hundred thousands of resumes which are lying in the system. Right? It's not possible to have every candidate being contacted over email or over a phone. So what we do is we basically utilize this chatbot to send out communication notification to the candidates, and at the same time gather some information about maybe the current CTC, current location, notice period, and the proficiency in certain skills. Right. So what happens is we don't have to really talk to so many people. So example, if I have 500 people in my database, so I have to just initiate chatbot screening and click of a button. It goes to all these 500 candidates, and then they will respond back with whatever question that I had, and this is that I will get my inputs. And once I get my input, we will be able to look at which candidate we want to take ahead in the process and which one is matching. Right. Okay. There is a question someone had asked. Okay. Yes. And the other area where I've seen AI being used is in terms of auto interview scheduling. So earlier we had to talk to the panel, we had to talk to the candidate, get their availability, then again talk to them, reconfirm the availability. But with AI coming in picture, it becomes very easier. While I have to just pair up a particular set of interviewers with a particular candidate and initiate a Autobot, right? So Autobot will communicate to the candidate, gather the availability for interview. When the availability has been gathered, it will reach out to the interviewers And once the interview gives in availability and the timings are matching, it will automatically schedule and send out invites to the candidate and the interviewer. So this is something which really saves time. And earlier the recruiters had to make multiple calls to get the availability of a candidate, something that are available, not available, or probably the panel has a different availability. So I think that has reduced a lot of manual work, for the recruiters in terms of scheduling effort. And also, I think where we have seen major role being played is in terms of interview recording, right? So there's a lot of interview proctoring software that are available in the market. And when I look at some of the platforms that are offering some services of proctoring, recording, it's really very exciting. For example, a person who's on a particular video, right? So they've been proctored for any kind of a violation. For example, if I'm doing a tab switching, or if I'm trying to, or someone else comes within the video, so it basically captures all those violations during the particular video interview, and it becomes very easy for us to figure out whether candidate it was a genuine movement or it was attempt to cheat, right? So that's the kind of proctoring. Plus, there's also proctoring or analysis that I've seen with respect to body language of a particular person, and also there is a particular interview time of say 45 minutes or 60 minutes. So this system AI has also got ability to figure out when were you excited, when were you sounding confident, when did your confidence go low, probably for a question where you're not confident about. So it does the overall analysis and also provides a summary at the end, saying that how did the candidate fare through the entire interview? Was the person excited? Did the excitement drop? Did the excitement increase? Did the person's tone was low, and the confidence level was low? So it does all those kind of analysis in a particular interview, right? So more like a psychometric assessment along with the interview session. It's getting, I think, more and more interesting. So these also helps in taking decisions faster on a particular candidate. And there are also coding analysis that is done, right? It will not just tell you whether the coding was done right or wrong. It will also tell you whether the coding was done in the best optimized manner, was it done in a long manner, right? Or it was a smart one. So it does all those analysis, and it also gives the input to the interviewer, saying that this person has done, not done, or whether the approach was right. So this is that some people are able to proceed ahead, saying that the person was trying to crack a particular code. And there are also certain virtual assistants that are used by the recruitment firms or by HRs. So this basically helps in answering a lot of FAQs that a candidate might have any particular time with respect to the process, with respect to the policies of a particular organization. So they are able to get answers real time 24/7. So I think this is a critical area where some of the candidates are not able to reach out to the recruiters on time or get enough information, which they are able to get right now with the help of virtual assistants. I think virtual assistants are there, I think, in almost in all the websites nowadays, and they're playing a key role. And also with respect to the candidate engagement, right? So once a candidate has accepted an offer, right, there are a lot of companies where they are leveraging different platforms to measure engagement of the candidate. With respect to engagement of candidates, it also tracks whether the email was delivered, not delivered, whether the email was opened by the candidate or not. And sometimes there are certain tasks given on a particular site. So it will also measure whether the person is engaging enough, spending time or not spending time. So that basically helps in getting a probability of a particular candidate joining, not joining, or whether there's a dip or increase in the candidate engagement level. So I think that's another way in which AI is being leveraged by some of the companies in the hiring process. And currently, what is catching our attention is with respect to generative AI. Right? To give you an example of ChatGPT. So how we utilize ChatGPT is in terms of helping us in drafting job descriptions or improving certain job descriptions, because sometimes you get these in very raw format, from the hiring manager, right? So it could be just a five liner, and very, the language would not be very, very attractive or rich, right? So what we do is, we use ChatGPT to help us in, improving our job descriptions, so that they are more appropriate to be, posted on social media. And also, sometimes I have taken help personally of, doing job postings on LinkedIn. And I think ChatGPT does a good job of assisting you. I'm not saying that it will give you 100% output, but it at least saves the time, which you have spent in drafting something or improvising something. So that is another area where me and my team also use ChatGPT to help us with respect to postings on multiple social media. And as a recruiter, if you're aware, that they're also responsible for sourcing, and sourcing involves looking at certain Boolean search strings. So we can always ask ChatGPT to suggest us what is the ideal Boolean string that I could use for a particular job description or a combination of skills. So it will also give you a result within seconds. So if I have to personally type in and look at different combination, that would take minutes. But the moment you put it on ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT to give you those search string, it saves a lot of time, and it also gives you a lot of accuracy in terms of having the parentheses in the right places. And the other area which I've also used ChatGPT generative AI is with respect to getting more knowledge about certain skills. So there are certain skills which are quite niche or quite new in the market, right? So sometimes as a recruiter, you would want to really understand so that you get your sourcing right, and you can also interact with the candidates. And example, if I'm working
Naveen,
on
hi.
sorry,
Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. Yeah, there are queries coming in. Your voice level is a little low. Audio level. Can you speak a little.
okay, sorry, yeah, thanks for letting me know, Sugandha.
Thank you.
I'll try to be a little loud. Okay. Yeah, talking about generative AI ChatGPT, how we are using it in recruiting. So with respect to learning, is it still there, Sugandha? Not clear, or
It's better, just a little louder if possible, please.
sure, Sugandha?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking about how I use ChatGPT to understand the IT skill sets, right? In terms of there is certain skill sets where I don't know how is it related, right? So example, if there are ETL tools, what are the different ETL tools? How are they connected? With respect to the data engineering role. So that's how it assists me in terms of understanding a particular role and get more information. And also, how we utilize that as, say, example, the recruiter is not technically qualified to screen a particular candidate because they do not have that particular technical expertise. So what we can do is, we can also ask ChatGPT to give us a set of screening questions. So example, if I need to interact with a person, for a data engineer role, and if I want to ask a particular candidate a certain question to understand whether the person is, actually relevant for the particular role based on the skill sets, right? So ChatGPT will give us a few questions, which we can ask the candidate to figure out the relevancy. Because getting the sourcing right is very, very important. Otherwise, you end up, putting the candidate through a process, and the person would, end up getting rejected. So that's how we are using ChatGPT right now. And the other area where also, we use ChatGPT is in terms of drafting emails or drafting content, or you would want to, maybe put some campaigns for talent branding. So I think ChatGPT is also another tool which is helping us in, giving us a particular draft, right? So I'm not saying that it gives you 100% result, but it definitely gets you started and saves a lot of time with respect to building content for recruitment purpose. While AI is good in a lot of domains, including recruitment, but it comes back again with certain drawbacks, right? So example, there could be potential biases, right? Because at the end of the day, algorithms are written by humans, so there are chances that there are some bit of bias that might creep in. But other way where it might improve us, it will not create biases. For example, if I and some other person are interviewing a particular person or assessing a particular resume, it would do it consistently. So that is the advantage. So as long as you get your algorithms right, ensuring that there are no biases there, ChatGPT do a wonderful job. Uh, and the other area drawback is that the AI lacks the human touch and warmth. And every human at certain point in time will definitely want to speak to someone. An example, if when I'm talking to, when I'm calling, say example, cell phone service provider, right? They would probably put me to a automated voice system, but I would probably want to talk to some human fast, right? And I'm sure you guys would have also done the same thing, where you would want to talk to someone and quickly, right, rather than going through an automated system. So that's one place where it is lacking. The other place which is an issue with AI is with respect to in terms of potential security threat and data privacy concerns. I think this is something which you might have heard about certain organizations, where there was a data privacy leak and other issues that might crop up. So I think it's very, very important to ensure that we have the right systems in place, right checks in place to ensure that the data privacy is not impacted. The other area or the other challenges that most of the organizations faces with respect to integration and implementation of AI, because it's not easy as it seems, right? There's a lot of integration that needs to be done, with the system, and sometimes some of them would cost you, quite high initially, and then the most important part is getting it right. While you might do integration, but if you're not getting it right, then all the output that AI tools systems can generate can backfire. I think that's another challenge that most of the organizations face. And also AI requires reading a lot of data, right? So we need to have a sizable amount of data that is fed into the AI system, right? Otherwise the outcome or the output is not going to be appropriate. So that's something that some of the smaller organizations face, because they need to have, example, if you're looking at resumes, right? So if you have to come up with a pattern trend, they should have at least hundreds and thousands of resumes which have been put through the particular AI system. But if you just put, say, about 50 or 100 resumes, the result is not going to be great. The accuracy will improve only with a lot of data into the system. So this is how currently AI is influencing hiring. So I would be happy to get into question answer mode and answer some of the questions that the participants may have.
Great, great. Sure. We'll dig into the questions now. So, Komal is asking, have the companies already started using AI for recruitment process?
Yes, we have started doing that. So we have a ETSN system in place, which has got AI tools enabled. Plus, we also partner with certain external organizations for our external interviewers platform, or we have a tech assessment platform. So these are tools which are having AI enabled platforms.
Right. Sachin is asking, since different resumes have different formats, some being more graphical and some more textual, how successful are AI algorithms in passing and contextualizing information from these different types of resumes? Are graphical resumes are a disadvantage?
So I think most of the resumes it's been able to go through. There are still some challenges that are with respect to the images, right? I've seen some of the candidates having the entire resume in image format. I think that is becoming slightly challenging. In fact, just a couple of hours ago, when I was looking at my system, so we basically have something called unparsed resume, which resume is not got parsed. So when I looked at one of the resume, it was completely in image format. I think that is the image format that you have to ideally avoid. And making the resume, just adding a lot of say example, if you're a Java engineer, just using Java multiple times in the resume will not help you when getting your resume on top. There was a time when we used to do a lot of keyword match that used to help, but now we have to ensure that the resume has got all the relevant keywords in your profile, right? So that when you're looking at context matching, or probably describing something about your role. So example, if I say that I'm using SQL Python in my role, will not help. But the moment you are able to mention how you're using these skills in your particular project or particular role, that will help AI in building a better context. At the end of the day, AI will not automatically sense of a particular profile. It is basically making sense out of the data that is available in a particular resume. to a particular job description. So there are times when I've seen some of the candidates, when we talk to them, they talk about certain skills or that they have worked, done some relevant work in that particular skill, but the resume is not reflecting, right? So these would be some of the losses for some of the candidates when they're applying, when they don't have the relevant keywords in the profile. So I would, recommend strongly to the candidates, to ensure that whenever they're applying for a particular role, they have the relevant primary skills which are reflecting the job description should also be part of the resume, and they have context around that particular skill set. Otherwise, the chances of the resume is getting missed out or not getting matched with a better score is going to be impacted.
Right. Kalrav is asking, does the AI also look up the candidates on social media as well?
Yes, that there are certain platforms where it does outbound sourcing. The moment you put a particular search, example, there is a X-ray search, right, which is basically on Google. The moment you put something on the Google with in a particular format, it will go and search profile across web and give you profiles. And similarly, there are certain platforms which also gives you access to a certain job portal and social media to extract the profile information. So, like you have your cab aggregator platform. So similarly, you have a profile aggregator platform which will basically get information of a particular candidate from multiple platforms and tell you, saying that if it's there on GitHub or Stack Overflow or on LinkedIn or any other platform, it tells you in basically getting enough information on the candidate's profile.
Right. Okay. Bipin Kumar is asking, how will AI going to help the candidates? I mean, the job seekers. How can they use it?
So this will, like I said, multiple areas, right? So as a candidate first, people will have to ensure that they have the resumes right, because it is basically going to help in processing better. So earlier probably they had to wait for a lot of time for recruiters to get back on their profile. So now they'll be able to screen quickly. If the relevant candidates, they'll be contacted faster. And there are a lot of like virtual assistants or responses that are generated from the system. So they'll be able to get more responses, faster responses from a particular recruiter compared to in the past. So that's one way.
So are there any tools where the candidates can, check their resumes or ensure their resumes don't get rejected?
So resumes. So there are certain platforms that are available. Certain resume. I think there's one worded resume. There is a couple of sites. I'm not recollecting the name. The moment you put your profile there, it will give you a score saying that whether your profile is good, not good, and which are the areas where you can build your profile. So I think that's something that as a candidate you should be able to figure out whether your resume is reflecting of what you do. Right? There's one particular time when I had reach out to everyone on LinkedIn, stating that can you share your resume? I would be able to give you a feedback on your resume. So I've done, I think, close to 100 plus resume screening, and I given them inputs, right? So definitely has to reflect what they've done, right? And there are some of them, it was very very poorly designed. The content was not much, or they're not articulated their resume well. They're not mentioned about their contribution to a particular role, right? So most of the time, I've seen people ending up writing a role description of what they're doing, but they don't talk about what is more important from a interviewer and a recruiter standpoint is how have you contributed to the organization, how have you what are your achievements, right? So these are the areas which I think most of the people miss out on doing it. It's basically just a job description, right? And that is not that someone would look at.
Thank you. Pratiksha and Paresh, they are asking any particular industry that AI helps, or is it for all, or is it just for public sector or just the private sector? Or can the sales and sales companies also benefit from this?
I think AI is agnostic, right? It is impacting everyone in every industry, right? The only thing example I had read about the lawyers, right? The law firm. So there's AI which will help in finding out the right policy, drafting the right policy, or a case study from the past, right? So there's a lot of information that is available in that particular place, and AI is helping these lawyers in terms of instead of running through pages of information or maybe a lot of files, it's giving a lot of information pre-created or easily available within minutes. So I think it's going to all the places, but like I said, you have to have that data in a structured manner and in a particular repository. That's where you'll be able to run these algorithms, put them onto this particular platform and get the output. So I think this is going to increase more and more across all the industries. But I think what it's going to make for humans is going to make us more challenging for us to adapt to it in terms of making our job easy and still keeping ourselves relevant to a particular role. Because there are a lot of easy jobs or manual job that AI is going to take over. But how do we keep ourselves relevant is going to be more important. For example, in terms of recruitment, because of all these AIs, while it's taken away a lot of time in terms of easing your process, but at the same time they're able to spend more time in connecting with the candidates. They can spend more time with business, right? So that was the role where they were playing more of a recruitment coordinator or assistant, but now they're playing a role of a talent advisor.
Right. Vinu is asking, during screening, AI can play a vital role in filtering the resumes, but do you think it is a good for an AI bot to do a psychometric analysis of a human being during an interview? Like, it is quite natural for anyone to be nervous during interviews depending on their state of mind, so we may lose out on a genuine candidate.
Correct. So that is something which is, I would say, under trial. I personally don't would want to rely on that kind of an output right now, because we don't even know, at what level accuracy it's able to provide. So I definitely will not look at that as an output. But there are a lot of psychologists who are working on these kind of inputs and they are gathering information. So they may not be able to rule out a candidate based on that, but you'll definitely get some kind of indication in terms of someone's someone not confident, their tone dropping down, voice dropping down, or someone taking a pause, or the consistency, right? So these are some of the things as a person that we are able to probably judge, right? And that is what we're trying to see if AI can help us in doing that. Um, and the other thing that we have done is, before I implement anything on AI, I always do a double check or cross check, validate whether it's really giving general the right output. So example, if I have to look at a tool which is basically screening resumes and giving me a score. So what I had done is, I had taken out all the resumes that we already screened as a recruiter and a certain score. And then we kind of, put that in the system, and then we waited for the system to give us an output. And if that output is matching 80-90% of what we were able to do it, that's when I would want to, place my bet on it.
Right. So, do you think AI will replace faculties in teaching industry?
I think to some extent it will definitely do, but I think the example, the classroom training versus online training, right? I think even everyone would agree that classroom training is more effective, more impactful, because at the day we are, humans would want that particular personal touch, right? I think that's something that will gonna remain. But however, the effort that we put in terms of maybe generating content or learning, I think that's something that people will be able to get more inputs, right? So example, if I had to earlier do a Google search, right, I would get a lot of content, a lot of websites. I have to pour through everything and then finally get the gist out of what it is trying to convey. And whereas our ChatGPT or generative AI is able to do that within minutes or within seconds, I'm getting my output. So I think it's going to become more and more challenging for faculty members to make it more and more real and something different, right? Because most of the informations are available at the fingertips. I think that's something that will make everyone's job. I think not just the faculty members, but everyone playing a particular role where AI is implemented. They'll have to differentiate themselves and evolve.
Right. So Nidhi is asking, how can AI be utilized in startups in terms of cost effectiveness?
So I think for startups, again, like I said, it's little expensive to implement AI. Plus, at the same time, it requires a lot of data. So it depends on which part, on what solution you're trying to implement AI. So, example, if I'm using an external interviewer right now, so that particular partner has already done a lot of interviews, right? So they'll be able to give better analysis. But if I have to build a tool AI for my own firm, where I'm going to be looking at my own interview numbers. So example, if I'm doing only say 50 interviews in a month, so the amount of data that I will really have to get to a better output, better accuracy will be lesser. So I think while AI internally it will be difficult to implement, but if you're implementing any platform solution tools which are there, or example, if there are platforms that are helping us in giving you a better code, right? So there are platforms that are giving. So you can always leverage these platforms for improving your output and work. And that's what we are trying to do at our organization and Affine also, in terms of we have something called uh, generative AI, right? So we're trying to see how that can be leveraged, utilized across different departments and different industries.
Right. Vice is asking what is the accuracy percentage at initial stages, like screening?
So right now we have at least 85 to 90% of accuracy in screening.
Great. Uh, what adjustment should we make to adapt, in reality, in particular terms of crafting the resumes and everything?
Sorry, Mr. Last part, in crafting the resume.
In crafting the resumes, as in making the resume, so what adjustments should the candidates make?
I think we have to use the right keywords. Try to avoid any abbreviation. Try to make it more descriptive, right? Because AI has got the capability of building context out of your resume. So, example, when you're using a Chat GPT, right? You're giving certain instruction, right? The way you give an instruction to a Chat GPT, the output will differ, right? So, in a similar manner, you have to craft your resumes to ensure that it is relevant to a particular job. And there are times that I've also seen people, they are giving the same resume for all the roles that apply, right? I think they have to customize it a bit depending on a particular role, right? So example, a role is maybe heavy on a particular side, right? So you have to see how you're reflecting those aspects and why you think it's going to be a good match, instead of just assuming that I know myself as a person and just putting a resume to a particular application will not help. So I think it's going to be how do you really match it, and that's where AI is currently playing and helping a role to the recruiters, because there are a lot of times that candidates are irrelevant who apply for a particular job, or they're freshers, or of the skill set that are completely not matching. So I think that's where it made the recruiter's life easy. But if a person genuinely works in those skill sets in a particular role, I think they have definitely improved their content and mentioned. So I think 2 to 3 pages is the ideal size for a resume, and focusing more on the recent past experiences will be important. I've seen some people writing a lengthy job description or lengthy description about something that they've worked 15, 20 years ago. I don't think that's going to be really relevant to any recruiter hiring manager who's hiring you based on your recent experience.
Right. Arun is asking, as there are several assessments and personality tests such as Hogan assessment that are considered while recruitment. So whether these will be less preferred going forward, and AI becomes one integrated platform?
Okay, so just can you just repeat the question? I think it's more on the test assessment.
Yeah, so basically he's asking, there are several assessments like Hogan assessment. So whether this will be less preferred going forward, will these be less preferred, and AI becomes the main criteria of screening and hiring?
Yeah, I think that's what will happen with the improvement or accuracy what AI is able to deliver, right? So a lot of organizations, while they are implementing AI, but there's also a certain amount of time where they are kind of monitoring, supervising that particular output. Otherwise, that could lead to biases or misfire. So there are a lot of organizations doing that very diligently, and then based on that accuracy, obviously whatever is giving you better accuracy, better output, and also giving you cost advantages, people definitely prefer those assessments.
Right. So has AI found a role in healthcare? Prateek is asking this question. Is a human-centric industry and requires acute emotional accuracy, and is it developed enough yet to be brought to hospital setups?
So I think it will not definitely replace doctors and humans, but it'll definitely help in maybe assisting them or taking them to a certain stage, right? Will definitely require human intelligence, and I think that is where it become more and more evolving, right? One of the days where we could do something and then still stay on a particular role or job, but I think now it's going to be more and more. So, example, if the doctor would want some analysis, certain patterns, or certain better diagnosis for a particular patient, I think that's where the AI is going to help in taking those calls, right? Or maybe a generic or initial stages of diagnosis. AI is probably giving you a particular result, but end of the day, how to assess that? I think the doctors will get a better accuracy there, and they'll be able to suggest better maybe surgeries or ailments for that.
Right. So can it take into account of the stress levels? Like, for example, during an interview, if the candidate is nervous or stressed, I mean, we are having some very similar questions around this.
Yeah, I think that is where depending on the rules, right? So there are certain rules where you require those things to be measured, right? Especially we have seen at leadership level where they want to really ensure that the person is staying calm and all that. And then you must have also heard about the stress interviews that were done, sometime back in person, where you would have a panel interview and they would put you on a stress, unduly. So I think those kind of things that might happen based on certain roles, right? If you have to, as a leader, display calm, right? Probably might be provoked for a certain instance or certain case study. So the system is going to basically look at how are you responding, how are you reacting, are you staying calm, are you getting nervous, right? So I think that's somewhere people would want to do it on a role-to-role basis. I think doing it the same thing across all experience levels, all roles, I think that's not going to be the right thing to do.
Chetan is asking that most of the vacancies have age limits mentioned for particular profiles. So is AI influencing age criteria or helping in screening that as well?
So in terms of scoring, it will pick up those criteria. So it will not look at overall experience right now. So it will basically look at the overall fitment and it will tell you what is available. And typically what happens is, very few scenarios where you have candidates who are beyond a certain factor to apply. So example, a candidate might apply for a particular role, but obviously, it's not just the experience that is required for a role, but the person with that particular experience probably will be at more salary, right, than what we can offer for a particular role. And that's why a person would not be taken ahead in the process, not because he's not capable or competent, but he'll probably be a little overconfident for a particular role and at a given salary.
Right. Ayush is from business development and he wants to know how AI impacts sales and marketing roles.
I think there are some platforms that are available in the market. I'm not in that medium role, but I'm aware of our salespeople, using that to generate information to target, potential clients, right? So there are automated emails or the content that they are able to develop and generate. Right. Personally, I've been seeing a lot of such mails coming, and I sometimes, unable to figure out whether this is auto-generated or this is really coming from some human. So I think that's something that they have started doing. And I also remember a particular platform that was looking at a particular person's profile to create a generative attractive content, right? So they will basically, for example, they know that I am interested in movies or I'm interested in cricket, so it will kind of combine that conversation in the mail that is drafted to me. So I will definitely look at that particular mail, go through the content. The chances of me reading that mail is higher. So that is something that some of the AI platforms are doing, where they look at a particular company's profile, a company or person's profile, or they will look at the problem statement and define it better when they're targeting the clients.
Right. So, how will the AI play the role in hiring for mid management or senior management? Does it differ? Because for senior management or leadership roles, there are certain criteria which are different. So, how will that help?
So this will again help in the initial stages, like you mentioned about screening and matchmaking, right? I think that is the stage where I would prefer using it for mid and senior level. And after that, obviously, the conversation helps because we're looking at certain finer aspects. When we're looking at a mid senior level or senior level people, it is more of the human aspect, and that will only happen by having multiple discussions, having multiple conversations with them. I think AI would be at a very junior entry level, but after that, it's going to be of more human touch.
Right. So, does it read only the rules, the data that is inputted in, or does it reads the practical experience of the candidates as well?
This is with respect to the resume or practical
Resume,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah, so right now, that's what there are AI. So earlier, there used to be a lot of companies who used to talk about AI match and all that, but end of the day, it was doing more of keyword match and probability. But now there are certain tools that I've seen are able to build a context of a particular person, saying that what kind of role, what kind of skill that person has worked on. So it will look at the project, the current experience that person has put on the resume, and tell us whether who is going to be more suitable for a particular role. So it's got into a stage where it's able to build context. It has got to a stage where I can also calculate the number of years of experience the person has got on a particular skill set. I was quite surprised when I looked at that particular platform, right? If I've worked on SQL for, in multiple projects in multiple organizations, the tool was able to capture that approximate years of experience I've worked on the particular skill set, right? So that was not available some time back. Or being able to capture the overall experience of a candidate, total experience also, right? So it's basically able to build that context now. I think that is something which is going to really help us in finding the right match, right candidate, get better success.
Right. So in future, does this mean that because of AI, it will generate more of exams and online assessments and less of face-to-face interviews or human interactions?
I think it will basically be brought up in the elimination stage, right? Because from my experience, that I can tell you is the challenge that we face is at the entry level, right? When you talk about the funnel, right? We have, say, example, 1,000 applicants for one job. Now to go through the 1,000 applicants, it's virtually very difficult. And then probably because the people are also building good resumes, or they're drafting good resumes right now, right? And sometimes they don't even have that experience. Sometimes they mention that, right? So how do you really know whether the person is really strong in those skill sets, or they just mentioned it, in the resume? And as a system, AI will just tell you that this person is a good match, but actually the person not worked on those skill sets, because person AI cannot get into the person's system actually and figure out, right, what is the person done. And that's the reason why the shortlisting might happen more. Then we have to eliminate it, right? So there's always a cost and time and effort involved in getting a interview for a face to face, and that's where this assessment, the coding, plays a role in eliminating certain interviews. So, example, if I have 1,000 applications, in the 1,000 application, AI tells me that these are 50 good candidates, above a score of 80. Now to get the interview done for this 50 will take me at least a couple of weeks to do. And how can I eliminate out of these? I'll put them through a tech assessment. And then out of the tech assessment, there'll be 10 or 15 candidates who are scoring above a certain cutoff. And then I will invest my time in talking to those candidates, spending more time, and then scheduling their interviews in the process. So the human involvement, we are going to be putting very less at the initial stages. But the moment once you know that someone is, really good for you, that's when we start spending more time with them. And I think that is what a lot of companies are currently focusing on in terms of differentiating themselves, with the candidate by talking to them, by understanding the profile, giving them good candidate experience. Just the system alone will not be able to give that experience consistently over a period of time.
Kiran is asking, do you think the word AI is overused? Is it really artificial intelligence driven, or are we confused with automated intelligence or articulated intelligence?
So yeah, so I would say that a lot of organizations, a lot of companies are just joining the bandwagon of AI, right? So I would say they're abusing AI when actually it's not an AI, it is just a simple automation that they've done. So that's where it becomes very, very important, critical to figure out what exactly a company is selling, what kind of products are they selling, and is it a real AI, or just some simple automation that are existing, they're probably putting it in a nicer manner. I think a lot of companies are just trying to catch the buzzword, make some business, attract some people. But I think we have to be very, very cautious, careful, ask the right questions. If a person's platform is really AI, or it is just giving you some output based on certain simple algorithms. And also people talk about a lot about machine learning and improving the accuracy and all that, right? So is it just one time, or is there a real actual machine learning algorithm that are written, which is basically analyzing the data and improving the output? I think that is something which is to be watched out for, because sometimes the organization just talking about all these things. I've in one of my organizations in the past, right, we were one of the early adopters of a new system. But they were talking about all these AI, ML, and everything, right? But after putting a lot of effort, we figured out it was more of a keyword match and not giving us a real output. So we spent a lot of time in doing a pilot and figuring out if it's really doing a genuine job, or it is just giving a output that even a recruiter could do.
Right. So, is there any data being generated or reports on the success of AI implementation?
So I think in different industries there are different verdicts to it. I think there are certain places where they're using AI. I think it is working fine. In some areas, I think people are still skeptical or not very sure about the AI data. So, example, I came across a particular posting on ChatGPT, right, where you ask them a straightforward question on, sharing the sites that sell you, give you pirated content. So it refused to provide. But when the answer was twisted, saying that, can you tell me, which are the website I need to avoid, to get this kind of information, and then ChatGPT gives that information. So I think that's something which needs to be monitored. So there is going to be a new role that will be created. Like you used to have ethical hackers, so you'll have similar kind of people who will be, looking at AI, right? So we will have AI experts who will be really assessing these kind of platforms, tools, to figure out if they are really doing that particular job, whether they are protecting data privacy, whether they are giving it the right output. I think that's going to create a new set of rules in the market, which we will start seeing maybe in the next few months, where people are being called upon by certain organizations to monitor AI systems, tools, and figure out if they are doing the right thing, and there is no data leakage there.
Great. Thank you for answering all the questions, Naveen. Any closing comments from your side for our listeners?
So I think the closing comment is, do not get worried about AI. AI is going to be there. It's going to probably displace certain roles, but always keep focusing on learning. I think learning is going to be the key throughout. Differentiating your role. How do you improve your role? And figure out the areas where you can really make a difference. I think that is something which I would advise everyone. People are really scared about AI. I don't think it's a time that we can be scared unless we reach to a stage where system itself is creating another system, or the system itself is creating AI platform on its own without even being directed by a human. I think that's going to be a stage when we have to really worry about, where machines are taking their own decision and not being triggered or inputted by a human. I think that stage we have not yet reached. I hope we don't reach that stage soon. Otherwise, it's going to be a real chaos where machines are going to be driving everything on their own, managing everything on their own, and then they'll start controlling humans. I think that's going to be a difficult situation.
That is
I
when
hope,
you need to be scared.
yeah, that's why I hope no one, there's no foolish human ends up doing something like that, where we
Yeah.
become the slaves of the machine and not vice versa.
Right. Great. Thank you so much for your time, Naveen. It was really informative. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope our learners learned a lot. And thanks to all the attendees for attending the session and all the questions. We'll see you next week. Have a happy weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sugandha.
Thank you,
Thanks
Naveen.
everyone for joining in.